All right, gather around the fire, my friends, because I've got one wild story to tell you tonight. This tale of murder, obsession, and family is sure to keep you on the edge of your seats. It all starts with a young woman named Mehak Bukhari. Now, Mehak was no ordinary small-town girl. From a young age, she always had a knack for seeing the spotlight. In school, she was the popular one, always dolled up and loving the attention. But when it came to her grades, well, let's just say academics weren't exactly her strong suit. Mehak decided early on that she was going to make her fortune a different way by becoming an influencer on social media. She started out posting TikTok videos of herself all dressed up, trying to portray this image of being this big-time celebrity. But the truth was, her follower count was pretty modest. Maybe 135,000 on TikTok, 38,000 on Instagram, and just about 4,000 YouTube subscribers. Not exactly Kardashian-level fame, you know? Mehak wanted the world to think she was way bigger than she really was. But then something happened that took Mehak's online presence to the next level. She started making videos with her mom, a woman named Anne Serene. The two of them doing little dance routines and silly skits together just seemed to resonate with people, and Mehak's follower count exploded. Suddenly, she was a TikTok star. Now, Mehak's mom, Anne Serene, was pretty thrilled about this whole situation. She had dreams of her own when she was younger. She wanted to be a flight attendant. Can you believe that? But her traditional Pakistani parents had other plans, forcing her into an arranged marriage with Mehak's dad, Ali. So when Mehak's social media fame started bringing in some cash, Anne Serene was all too happy to quit her lowly jobs and become Mehak's full-time manager. The two of them started living the high life, traveling to big cities like London, Manchester, and Birmingham for various sponsorship deals and photo shoots. Mehak's dad, Ali, was cool with it too, thinking his daughter would be safe as long as she was with her mom. Little did he know the storm that was brewing. You see, around the same time that Mehak's TikTok was blowing up, Anne Serene started up a secret affair with a much younger man named Saqib Hussain. Now, Saqib, he was head over heels for Anne Serene from the start. He was showering her with expensive gifts, designer clothes, fancy meals, Apple watches, the whole deal. This guy was dropping thousands of pounds trying to buy Anne Serene's affection. But Anne Serene, she wasn't exactly reciprocating those feelings. I mean, she was a married woman after all. She would sometimes ignore Saqib's constant calls and texts, not wanting to talk about him too much around her family. But Saqib, he just couldn't take the hint. He was completely obsessed with Anne Serene, even admitting to his friends that he didn't care she was married. This was one intense, desperate dude. Then, in December 2021, Anne Serene finally decided she'd had enough. She met up with Saqib at a London hotel and broke things off for good. But Saqib, he just couldn't accept it. He started begging Anne Serene to take him back, going from apologetic to downright vicious in his messages to her. Now here's where things really start to spiral out of control. Saqib, in his fits of rage, started threatening to expose Anne Serene. He said he was going to send nude photos over to her whole family, including her own son. Can you believe the nerve of this guy? Anne Serene was terrified, so she confided in her daughter Mehak about the whole situation. Now Mehak, she did not take kindly to anyone threatening her family. She told her mom not to worry, that she would get him jumped by guys, and make Saqib regret ever messing with them. But instead of going to the police, these two came up with an even more twisted plan. A plan that would end in the deaths of two innocent people. In February 2022, Saqib reached out to Anne Serene, saying he'd leave her alone if she just paid him the money he claimed she owed him for all the gifts he'd bought her. Anne Serene didn't actually owe him anything, but she felt trapped. If she didn't pay up, Saqib would still expose those photos. So she agreed to meet him in a Tesco parking lot to hand over the cash. But this was all just a setup. Mehak had enlisted the help of a friend to lure Saqib to that parking lot. And that's not all. Mehak and Anne Serene had recruited a whole crew to carry out their sinister plan. There were 8 of them in total, including Mehak and Anne Serene. The night of February 11th, 2022, Saqib and his friend Mohammed showed up at the Tesco lot, completely unaware of the trap that was about to be sprung. As soon as they arrived, Mehak and the others started chasing them in their cars, determined to get Saqib no matter what. Saqib and Mohammed tried to flee, with Saqib even calling the police for help, but Mehak's car ended up ramming into theirs at over 100 miles an hour. The impact was absolutely brutal. Saqib and Mohammed's car went flying into the air, splitting in two and bursting into flames. Both men were killed instantly, their bodies so badly mangled they could only be identified by dental records. It was a horrific, violent end to two young lives. When the authorities arrived, at first they thought it was just a tragic accident, but then they checked the CCTV footage, and that's when they realized this was no accident at all. This was a cold-blooded murder plot orchestrated by Mehak and her own mother, Anne Serene. Can you believe the nerve of these two, planning something so sinister? The investigators pieced together the whole twisted scheme, from the setup in the parking lot to the high-speed chase that ended in tragedy. They arrested Mehak, Anne Serene, and the rest of the crew, and the case went to trial in April 2023. And let me tell you, it was a wild ride. Mehak, she had the audacity to try and play the innocent victim, even faking concern over the crash. But the evidence against her and her mom was overwhelming. Turns out, Mehak had been the one to lure Saqib to that parking lot, and Anne Serene's own messages showed she was terrified of Saqib's blackmail threats. These two women had orchestrated the whole thing, all because they couldn't handle the consequences of Anne Serene's affair. In the end, justice was served, but not without a heavy price. Mehak and Anne Serene were both found guilty of murder, with Mehak getting life in prison with the possibility of parole after 31 years. Anne Serene and a couple of the other accomplices got 26 years to life. It was a staggering display of just how far a mother and daughter would go to protect their own interests, even if it meant resorting to cold-blooded murder. Now I know what you're all wondering, what happened to Mehak's social media empire? Well, let me tell you, that little influencer dream of hers came crashing down hard. She can't even enjoy the attention anymore, because now her name is forever tainted by this ugly, tragic case. Mehak Bukhari, the TikTok star turned murderer. Not exactly the kind of fame anyone would want.